Sir James Galway is among the most recorded artists of all time, which is a feat all the more remarkable because the flute is not a commonly played instrument. But such is his virtuosity. Sir James has made the flute accessible and loved worldwide. He's played with the great orchestras, the London Symphony, the Royal Philharmonic, Covent Garden Opera, a soloist with the Berlin Philharmonic under Herbert von Karajan. And not only classical music, he's mastered literally the full repertoire of available genres to the instrument, which is why we've seen him work with the likes of the Chieftains, Stevie Wonder, Henry Mancini, Elton John, Ray Charles, Bocelli, and a couple of gigs with the Muppets as well. He's in his 70th year and embarking on an Australian tour, his first for 20 years. I'm very pleased to say good morning, Sir James. Welcome to the Radio National Breakfast Studio.
Good morning, thank you.
20 years, a long time. What's kept you from coming back?
Just never got round to it, actually. I mean, there's an awful lot of stuff to do in the rest of the world. And, young man, I have to take you to task here. The flute is a very popular instrument, probably second to the piano and violin.
I stand corrected.
Yeah. And did you know that in the 1800s in England, one person in every 10 played the flute?
Is that a fact?
It is.
If this interview...
But feel free to make any other statement you want, James.
Okay, no. Well, I'm pretty confident I'm right when I say this. If we were having this interview 20 years ago, my voice would be a lot higher, and we could say then, as we can say now, you would have broken every record, performed in every genre, in every context, with every conceivable group. How in the 20 years since have you kept yourself challenged?
Well, there's an awful lot to do, and things just wander into my life. For example, that gig with the Pink Floyd, I was in Berlin playing, and I have a godson there. One of my neighbours had a little boy, and she asked me if I would be the godfather, so I have a German godson. And I thought, I saw this advertised, the Pink Floyd at the wall, and I thought, this would be great. I'll bring my kids and get my godson and we'll all go. When I got home, there was an invitation to play in it, so we all got backstage.
Fantastic.
And the kids loved this, and it was really spectacular. The Pink Floyd are a great band, and they're very, very professional. They have a tuning room and a guy who tunes their guitars. And it's probably about half the size of this studio, and it's only full of guitars, and there's a guy there, all he does is tune them, and when they're finished one number they come off, get another guitar which is in tune, off they go, which explains their immaculate intonation and the beautiful sound they make. That's what I like about the Pink Floyd, is it's a real terrific band, and the quality of the sound they put out is amazing.
Your sound is quite unique as well. I heard once it was said of Louis Armstrong that so great was his mastery that he changed the definition of what a trumpet actually was. How has your relationship with the instrument developed over the decades?
Well, when I was a kid, I learned with my Uncle Joe, who learned with my grandfather. And my dad also played the flute, but at the age of 9, I was going through my late teens and not talking to my dad, so I learned with my Uncle Joe. And from there, I sort of got into playing the flute because, growing up in Belfast in the 40s after the war, there wasn't a lot to do. We didn't have TV. Nobody had a refrigerator. The first time I saw a refrigerator, I was 14. And I had to go and feed somebody's cat, and the cat food was in the refrigerator. I opened it up, the smell nearly killed me. I thought, if this is what refrigerators smell like, I don't want one. And then I went and learned in London and Paris, and this sort of gave me the technique that I have now. I consider myself to be French trained. And you go on comparing yourself with people, especially singers and other great instrumentalists like Rostropovich and Heifetz. So I would take some of the tunes that they played and try to play like them.
It all began in Belfast. Were you in the pipes and drums marching band?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. The Orange Order?
Yeah, big money that was. I remember the first time I went on one of these marches, we all got paid 35 quid. And when you think that my dad, for a whole week, he got paid 4.
They played the tin whistle famously, still do in the marching season in Northern Ireland.
No, not tin whistles.
No?
No, they play fifes and flutes. They play small flutes about this size, which are great for the open air because they sound so good and loud.
With the snare. What instrument have you brought today?
I brought a tin whistle because I noticed on my publicity it didn't say anything about bringing a flute, so I didn't bring one.
You said you were trained in the French tradition. How is that different from other schools?
It's like another world. When I was growing up, the difference between the French school of flute playing and the English school was so enormous. You could spot it a mile off. The English tradition was not really so much a tradition. You just sort of tried to figure it out for yourself with the help of a teacher. Whereas in the French tradition, your teacher taught you and showed you how to do it, and there was no arguing. You just did it like that. And also in the Conservatoire in Paris, they had 2 classes at the time, and I was in the French class because there was one place open to everybody, and we all turned up and did our bit, and I won the place. And it was amazing. The difference in the standard between the French class and the foreigners class was remarkable.
And do those lessons remain with you still?
Oh, sure. We had 2 lessons a week, and you had to attend the class for a period of about 3 hours, and you played in front of the other kids.